My name is Basia. Some of you know me. I am a founder of Edinburgh School of Icon Painting. And I am the main teacher. At the moment, we don't have any other teachers, but hopefully in the future. I will tell you a little bit what I want to talk about and show you tonight. My idea for tonight was to introduce a little bit of creativity into the process of painting or writing an icon. So sometimes we say writing an icon, sometimes we say painting an icon. Both forms are correct. So you can use them interchangeably. Some people prefer writing, some people prefer painting, some people use both. I want to talk and inspire you, invite you to try to introduce some of your creative ideas into the process of creating an icon. This could be many different things and does not have to be something huge. So you don't need to completely start a new process, new composition, new brush marks, new colors. It's quite nice actually to start slowly. So what you can do, instead of creating completely new composition, new image, new style, introduce something small. So maybe one of those elements. It could be just a color. So I will be doing a little bit working a bit with a color on the icon. That I started working on this icon last week on Friday, and I will continue on this coming Friday as well. I started using a color that is maybe surprising on the face. So I am working on the face. I will see how it goes as I paint, because the process is quiet. To me, it's quiet. It's not very controlled always. There is a degree of spontaneity in it, and that's why I can't always predict and tell you exactly what I will be doing. So this is as well my invitation to you to try to work like this. So not always having a very, very strict, closed plan, maybe having plan that is open to, open to whatever happens as you go, as you work with this process. Because I am not sure and I don't know, and I am assuming some of you are, we can say, beginners, or you haven't done it in a long time. So I would like to as well do a short introduction to the technique that I am working with. And so I will be working using egg tempera technique. This is not the only technique that we can use in icon painting, but it seems to be the most popular, the most used technique. So I will be working in egg tempera. Also, maybe you can say that this technique is good to start with it when you start learning, because it's a very traditional technique, and it has been, used by icon painters for a very, very long time, centuries. So it is nice to start learning with this technique, maybe to create that connection with a tradition. So become a part of this tradition of painting icons, writing icons, that are a process of, prayerful process. And then you can start exploring different techniques, which I would like to talk about in one of the live videos in the future as well. But tonight we will be talking about egg tempera. So let's see if I can add another camera. Yeah, that's a tricky quite tricky now, but that's fine because, okay. So we've got another camera now, which just shows my materials in my working station. You are welcome to say hello. You are welcome to ask questions. You are welcome to ask questions as I demonstrate paint. I might not always be able to reply straight away, but I always try to do so. So we can see here our surface. We can work on many different surfaces. So I'll give you a couple examples. Especially for beginners, but not even for beginners. You know, if you want to try different things, if you want to see your ideas that are often, you know, in our head, you see it on the surface, you don't need to be working on a very professional, beautiful panel. You can work on other surfaces. I will introduce 3 surfaces. One of these is a proper, so-called proper icon board made of solid wood and covered with traditional gesso. So we've got panel. There are many methods of making these panels. I've got this one here. As you can maybe see, it's made of different bits of wood glued together. So we can see 2 different strips of wood. And then there is this other harder wood put in both ends of the panel. So just to let you know, this helps for the panel to stay straight, flat. And then we've got gesso, traditional gesso on this side. Let me know if you have any question about this surface. I want to spend most time on painting, so I will just give you a short introduction of the surfaces. Next surface is much less serious, I would say, which means it's easier to work with, not as overwhelming. You feel a bit more relaxed when you work on it. It's called clayboard. I know that we can get this in UK. I would check because maybe it's possible in US as well, but please do let me know if you want to, because I know we have some people here from America. If you are looking for something like this in America, I am happy to help you to find it. So this is the board that is covered with traditional gesso as well. Very good for practicing, but you can also complete the whole icon. It stays quite stable, this surface. So I never noticed it warping, you know, so it's a very nice surface to work with. I don't know if you can hear my cat in the background, but he's going a bit crazy. I apologize. It's impossible to tell him to be quiet. And then the third surface, which is the most accessible surface, will be paper. I recommend using paper that you can use, for example, is prepared for painting. Nowadays, you can find a lot of different cards, paper that is already prepared for painting. Of course, it's a slightly different way of working, but it's great for trying different things, different colors, compositions, experimenting. So that's my recommendation. 3 different surfaces. Please do let me know if you have any questions about these surfaces. I'm hoping that people were able to join, those who joined before. I will be working today on the paper. So again, what we need for egg tempera is egg yolk mixed with light beer or white wine vinegar. Just to keep it simple, this is our egg medium. It's called either emulsion, egg medium. This is our binder, so it keeps the powder together. So we are working with dry pigments. We call them dry pigments, powdered pigments. They have different names. So they look, I'll show you a couple of different colors. Yellow ochre. It's made of earth. It's quite exciting. Burnt amber, again, it's made of earth as well. Red ochre. Here we go. It's made of earth as well. We'll use a lot of earthly pigments in this method. Titanium white, I will be using this today. And black, I don't know yet if I will be using it. So I'm using black iron oxide. I also will be using blue, as I said. I love using blue. I have lots of different blue pigments and I always enjoy using those. So I'm going to probably be using ultramarine blue. Although I have this really light ultramarine blue, but I don't know if I will use it tonight. And our brushes. So again, let me know if you need more information about brushes. I'm happy to share this. There's so many different brushes that we can use. I wanted to say that recently I started using synthetic squirrel brushes because I'm trying to move away from using animal products. It's quite tricky with egg tempera and these methods, these techniques, but I'm trying to find a way here. So here we go, and we need some sort of palette. It could be all sorts of different things that you can use for palettes. Even you can use something like this. So you see, this doesn't have to be materials that you have to find in a specialized shop always. You know, apart from pigments, I would say, and maybe surfaces, once you get into the process. Hello, Katarina. I'm glad that you joined the other one. Do you use York wine in 50-50 ratio? Yeah, I use York wine in 50-50 ratio. Yeah. No. I don't use the really thick one. I use 50-50 ratio. I know that some of my students used to use 1-3 even. So then you don't add any water. But I use 50-50. So I will be working on the paper, but let me know. I'm taking it really slow. I want to allow enough time for questions, things like that. I'm going to try to keep it quite spontaneous, my process tonight. My aim here in these videos, series of videos that I will be doing in the next couple of weeks, is to try to work here the way I am usually working, on my own. It is quite tricky to do it when you demonstrating the process. It is a bit like it is a different experience to work completely on your own, as I am sure people who've done painting, Katarina can probably say as well. Know that it's a different process when you're doing it on your own and when you're doing it, showing it to other people or teaching. But I want to try to keep as much of that process here for you, because my aim is to try to show you maybe a different way to work with icon. I'm my own way, different way. I don't know. I don't want to compare to others. Yeah. I thought you would think that as well. You'd say that, Katerina. So yeah. So not. I'm not saying it as a judgment, but as my introduction and invitation to see my personal process. And maybe you will find inspiration in it. I'll do, as I said, you'll see how it goes. So when I worked on Friday, I used blue color. Already had prepared the image to a certain degree, painted to a certain degree, certain stage, and I used blue color. I can see now this wasn't this blue, it was a different blue, but it's hard to tell because it's already applied on the top of green, which means they mix together. So it's a very nice process in terms of, you can mix colors on the surface. So I will try to mix something and maybe work a little bit. I like working in using small brushes. So you see, I will be using for now this tiny brush. I'm going to mix, maybe it's not starting with blue, but I will start with something browny just to bring more detail. So maybe I don't always measure my egg and water and pigment because as you practice, you learn to do it, you know, by feel. You can feel more or less, you can tell what's the right proportion. So I will start with something maybe a bit of red ochre. You see, I use brushes to mix and measure. So maybe red ochre with a bit of black, I'm thinking. And again, you are welcome to ask questions, just maybe not too much. It's already quite brown, as you can see. So that every pigment is very different. Even if you see the same color, it will behave differently here. And I'm gonna add water to the mix. When you're learning, it's good to, you know, keep to the proportion, to the ratio. This is iron oxide, so black iron oxide. So it's good to stick to the ratio, but when you have more of a feel of the technique, you can experiment even with the ratio of egg and water. So I'll see if I can maybe, I need to move the microphone. So if I can maybe do a little bit work on the eyes. To get more detail. So this is not about really creating any particular image in a way, although it might come out. It's more about showing you the way to explore and experiment. So I'm hoping to invite you, and hopefully you will, after this video, you will be able to do a little bit of that. Even if you are a beginner and you don't know the technique that well, you can still start. And then probably it's good to go back to learning sort of, you know, a bit more strictly, and then maybe coming back to it. So trying to what happens. It's very, very good to try what happens when you apply certain colors. I want to prepare slightly darker version of this already. To do some shading. Let's see what happens. I don't really, this brush is not working for me very well, so I will change into a different, I think it's already a bit, just 2 seconds. So it's been used too much, I think, so I need to change to a different brush. But still very tiny. I like working with tiny brushes. So making this a bit darker. So getting a bit more detail is quite nice because when you see more detail, you can actually have a better idea where you're heading, where you're going. And try to use small, maybe strokes or bigger strokes. That will give you a better feel of like the brush work. So changing the brush strokes to like different, stronger and weaker, smaller and bigger. It's quite good because it gives you the feel of like how everything works, and a bit creates a little bit more confidence. And it's good to go back and forth with different shades, different tones. Even going over the same. It blends really well when you do that, something like that. We can maybe do a little bit red on the lips. So the lips become more red. And then I'm gonna move it a little bit like this, and then maybe a bit of brown here. So it's like reddish brown here on the nose. So it's all becoming like getting more shape. But do try different ways and experiment. So even if you cover something with different color, you can always go back. It's quite nice working like this. Gives you a lot of freedom, and you don't feel so, worried about the outcome. I want to introduce a bit of a lighter color, and then I will do the blue, my favorite blue. So I want to introduce a little bit of light into the eyes. So I'll use a bit of yellow ochre. Do you see I'm making a tiny amount of paint because with this sort of size, which is not the tiniest, but it's small, we don't really need to use a lot of paint. This is a very economic technique, especially because we're using small sizes usually. Unless you use large size, then it becomes different. I can see that this is a bit green, but I'm not worried about that here. So sometimes I would then prepare the new color completely, but in this case, I'm not worried because this is about trying, and maybe it's nice to be surprised. I might need to make it stronger. So yeah, so I will need to make it stronger, but I will try. What happens when I do it, when I apply this color? It came like a light green, so I must have not washed my brush very well. So you see, you can even try it here, even though this is supposed to be darker in theory. But it's good to try. See, nothing bad's going to happen if this doesn't work. I can always go back. So I need to make a lighter version of this, a bit more white. Again, even if it's too strong, you can darken it again. So I guess my aim here is to show you the way to feel a bit more relaxed and to open you to experimentation. This creates quite a nice connection, and to me it becomes very, very prayerful and spiritual, because you connect with yourself, and then I believe that way you connect with the divine. So making some stronger, sharper. And then shall we do the blue color? I think it might be the time to introduce the blue. In this kind of situation, what happens sometimes when you do layer of a color or a brush mark, it just doesn't work. So then you have to go back. But that's fine, that's the part of the process. So let's do the blue. I'll do it quite light, I think. And I don't know, often in the process, I don't always know what's going to happen. Of course, when I used something many times, I more or less know what sort of effect, but many times I don't know. That's the beauty of it. Ultramarine blue. I like this mix of white, titanium white, and a little bit of ultramarine blue. It's beautiful color. And a bit of white. So it might be not strong enough, but we can see. Can see what happens. So we've got this blue color that it's a bit different. We see what happens when we apply this one. So it's very different than this other blue. Perhaps it doesn't even look very blue when applied. But I think it's working. So if you want, you can apply the same color in different on different surfaces. So for example, do it around the face. It's going to be very faint because there's no many layers just yet. But maybe sometimes it's nice when something is quite faint. So exploring this process. What often can happen that you feel like you want to do a brush stroke or a brush mark somewhere, and you feel good evening, Ula, and you feel okay, no, I won't do it because it's not going to work. I'm going to say do it in that situation. When you feel like this, just do it, and just to let you know that this is normal thing. It happens to me all the time, that I'm thinking, no, this is not going to work, and I stop. But actually, often if you just allow it to happen, often it does work. Not always, but often it does work. So it's nice to just allow it to happen and see what gonna come out of it. Nice to make it like a very spontaneous process as well, you know, like a process that has a flow. After all, it is a creativity, it is a creative process. So I'm thinking as well, I want to prepare, I think, a bit of a yellow color. Maybe this time I'm going to try to make sure that my brush is clean, because I don't want a green color here. Let's see if I manage to do it. Okay, I think it's okay. So we have, I'm working, as you see, very thinly. So like very, very thin paints. Let's see, a bit of yellow, maybe a bit more white. And water. Okay. See what happens. sometimes, you know, you find out that brushes are not working very well. This is better. So make it a bit lighter here. But also you see like overlapping with the blue. So it's quite nice to go over the blue a little bit. I can almost guarantee you that if you work like this, working as if like not feeling about, you know, you have to put some sort of expectation on yourself, this needs to come out like this or that, it will actually the image, the painting, the icon will be actually better, because you're not putting so much tension in it. Yeah, thank you, Katarina. Yeah, I feel like this gives a lot of experiences because you work on the paper. You don't feel so pressured. There is much more, you know, you're much more relaxed. There's much more creativity and flow in here. And then you can use this experience on the panel. So I like to do this, even when you're planning and you know you will be working on an icon and you need to prepare, you can use this as a preparation or sketches study. Don't expect like to make certain marks from yourself. It's of course difficult, you know, so if that happens, that's fine as well. Just remembering it will probably help you at some point to not feel so, you know, to not have that much expectation. I think that's the key to this process becoming much more enjoyable, but also you would learn much more, I think. It is, after all, you know, you want to enjoy this process. And when you experiment, you discover things as well. So you will make a brush mark that you did not expect, you know, and it will work. It's a wonderful experience. So doing a different brush marks, that's part of experimentation as well. Let me change my brush. This doesn't have to end up as a finished icon. You could use it as a preparation or a study, but might as well, you know, become the completed icon. I believe like even with not lots of experience, it's always good to do it. Just to play and, you know. Oh, sorry, did I? So just really, really playing and experimenting. And I guess remembering that this is the main aim here, just to try how everything is working. Okay, so I think I will be slowly finishing the demonstration for tonight, because I want to continue on Friday. So I want this to continue on Friday. I will change to the other camera, and I want to see if you have any questions. So let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer before we complete the session, about anything that I was doing, but also it might be about the materials that I introduced at the beginning, anything that is connected to this process, tonight's process. If you maybe feel like you need any advice, I'm happy to help. And also I wanted to invite you to continuation of this process on Friday 7:00, so UK time. Oh, hello Alicia, I was wondering if you were able to rejoin. I was just using the 250 gram paper, but you can use 200 as well. That would be fine as well. If you are using a watercolor paper, you don't need to prime it at all. But if you, for example, want to use like thicker card, you can prime it, for example, using shellac. So maybe 2 layers of shellac, not too many layers of shellac, because shellac, if you put too many layers of shellac, it's not going to take any paint. But you can use it for priming the paper. So maybe any other questions before we complete for tonight? You are welcome. I don't know if you know, but you can rewatch this. Oh, interesting. As Katarina is saying that she witnessed a beginner's course where they did every stage first on paper, then on board. That sounds really good. Yeah, that sounds really good, because you already tried on the paper. So when you go onto the panel, you know, you have some experience or understanding of the process and what happens. I like that idea. How long was that course, Katarina? Was it an in-person course? That sounds like a really good idea. It's nice also to have a lot of time when you're learning, I think, not to rush. Unfortunately, it's not always possible, but it is nice if that's possible. Oh, that was a week of Valamo, yeah, in Finland, yeah. They do have really good courses in there in Finland. For those who don't know, Valamo is a monastery, Orthodox monastery in Finland. It's got lots of good courses, I think. Yeah, especially I think if you do not such a complex composition and you have the whole week, you can easily do both on the paper and on the board. I quite like when I start with working with beginners to use a surface that is not, you know, the board, icon painting board, because it's so much more relax that way. It's very scary to start working on this beautiful surface, especially just with gesso being so smooth, looking perfect. Okay, I will be slowly finishing for tonight. If you have any questions later on, you can leave a comment under this video. But I also invite you to another one on Friday, 7 o'clock UK time, the same time as tonight. And I will be continuing working on this one, on this image. Maybe I will not only work on the face, but maybe I'll be able to do a little bit on the fabric. But this is just to say it's not about completing an image, these videos. These particular videos are to show you a way to try different things, to explore, to find your own voice. New Vawamo. Yeah, I thought it would be New Vawamo. Oh, there is a recipe to prepare paper with hard whipped egg. Oh, wow, that's quite amazing. I don't know if you could share that, Katarina, with us. That sounds amazing. That would be quite amazing. But do you have already paper and then you treat it with egg and vinegar? That sounds quite. I've never tried that. It's always nice to try different ways. I want to wait a little bit in case you can share, or you can share later if you want, if that's okay, of course. But maybe this is like a secret recipe that happens sometimes as well. Okay, so I wanted to stretch the paper like for watercolor. Whip the egg. So this is white or the whole egg, or the egg white maybe only. Let's stand until the foam goes down. I hope everyone can read it there. The whole egg, thank you. And then apply on the paper. That would be so nice for everyone to try. So that's really nice. Thank you so much, Katarina, for sharing this. I will definitely try this as well. Really, really nice idea. I've never done it, so I would love to try. And thin layers on paper. So apply thin layers on paper. Thank you so much. That's really nice. It's always so nice to learn something new. Okay, so I will be finishing for tonight. Thank you all for joining, and thank you all those who will watch the recording for watching. Please feel free to ask questions. Let me know where are you watching from as well. Sometimes I'm trying to kind of find the best time, so most people, the more people can join, but it's not always easy. But I'm always kind of making an effort, looking for the way to welcome more people, so from different countries as well. I hope you have a lovely night, and I might see you on Friday. There will be another one next week as well, but only on Friday. There will be information about it on the Facebook page, but I can already tell you next Friday at 7 o'clock as well, UK time. Thank you so much for watching and for all your questions and all your ideas. Thank you, Adam. Thank you so much for joining again, Adam. And I hope I'll see you next time. Have a good night, everyone. maybe next week, Katerina. Thank you so much. Good night.